All right, everybody, welcome back and bear down. First opportunity we're having to use the new microphone that we got, so we're improving and growing. Thanks for everyone who's been checking it out and who was part of this. Today I want to talk about the art of the trade down and how it benefits the Bears in this upcoming draft. We're going to be using the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart and some of the most recent examples. Before I get into that, I want to use an example that I have from someone I was chatting with online in one of our chat boards room, and they were comparing C.J. Stroud to Justin Fields. And I want to make a couple of points. Just because the Texans had a horrible record last year and the Bears had a horrible record does not mean they're at the same place in their rebuild, or in their coaching, or in their players, or anything like that. A couple main things to point out is Justin Fields was a better passer than C.J. Stroud in college. C.J. Stroud has one of the worst poor pass rates in the NFL this year. Justin Fields is in the 15%. Justin Fields has one of the tightest window throws, most accurate tight window throws in the NFL this year. One of the big differences, C.J. Stroud's line is not significantly better, but he does have weapons around him. He has 6 players that were graded in the PFF above 60. That's a baseline. Now, PFF isn't the end-all, be-all. It doesn't mean everything, but it does have a basis and a gauge for what it means. Okay? So, PFF, 60 or above. C.J. Stroud had 6 players, 6 weapons, wide receivers or tight ends, that fit into that mold who were above 60. It means he had players to spread the ball around. We'll just make it simple. He had ability to go with option A, B, C, or D and feel confident that he could throw it up. And C.J. Stroud did that a ton. And that's part of why his bad pass rate was so bad. Because he would huck these balls up that could have been intercepted very easily. Now, they weren't, and that's good for him. But he trusted those receivers to go up and get this. Justin Fields didn't have the same ability. He had 2, which is tied for the lowest in the entire league, players at 60 PFF and above. He had Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. Thank heavens for DJ Moore on this team, who is one of the best receivers in the league this year. But DJ Moore was targeted 24.5% of the time. You can only target your guys so much. Defenses key in on those things, and that's the difference. When you only have DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and you have nobody else that's reliable, you can't tell me Darnell Mooney because we can go into his metrics, and they were awful. He had a horrible year, and it wasn't on Justin Fields. Yes, he missed some passes above him. We're not completely on target with him. But Darnell Mooney's route running was the worst it's ever been in his career, and he had more drop passes than he ever had in his career. Justin Fields plain and simply did not have the options that C.J. Stroud had. Okay? So it's not clear-cut and simple like that. If you ask me today who I would take between the two, let's get ready for controversy here. I would take Justin Fields. And I sincerely mean that because there's more than just one player on the team. Now, if you're looking at contracts, the confidence that C.J. Stroud has built this year, combined with what he's learned, having that first year under him, he's probably rookie of the year, that would make me lean, yeah, I probably would take C.J. Stroud because Justin Fields is coming up on the end of his contract. But Justin Fields is electric and dynamic in ways that C.J. Stroud will never be. All right, we're going to get off that one. That can only cause more and more controversy. So let's get back to the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart. For those of you that haven't seen this, this is a basic trade scenario model. They're not going to be equal value when you're trading up in the first round. As you get into the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds, those trades are going to be more equal. They're still going to be a little lopsided for the team trading up. When you're trading up, you're going to be giving up capital on top of the equal value to be able to trade up. So let's look at some recent examples from history. Number 1, we got the Browns here in 2016. You can read over this. You can pause if you want and read over it. It doesn't always make sense with the players that are being talked about in here because sometimes those picks are then traded again with who that player then was traded for, such as Deshaun Watson. He was not drafted. Anyways, it'll make sense if you just stick to the picks. So let's look below. The Browns gave up the first round, number 2 overall in 2016, as well as a 4th round pick in a future year, 4 in 2016, the 8th overall pick, so dropping back 6 spots, 3rd round, 77th overall, 4th round, 100th overall, a future first, and a future second round pick. Now the trade, and this is my math that I'm doing on these, they're valued different ways by different people. Different people will value them different ways, but I do it with my math knowing the disparity of where it would be. Okay? So the Browns gave up 1-2 and got 1-8-3-7-7. So a first, a third, a fourth, future first, and a future second, and a 500-point basis difference. Now the points don't end all mean all. What they represent is value. And in this example, the Browns needed some rebuild. They got 5 players by giving up 2. And in most cases should be a higher value player. Go to the next example. All right. The Colts gave up the 3rd overall pick in 2018 for their 3 picks down. So they moved 3 picks down and 3 second-round picks. That second-round pick that year, an additional one that year that they had, and a future second-round pick. Disparity of 760 points. This was a good value, but also very fair. All right, we're going to go on. 2018, the Saints traded up to number 14 overall and gave up their 27th pick, so they were picking way later, a 5th rounder that year and a future first rounder to go up to number 14. Fair trade. All right. This one's a famous one. This is the Trey Lance trade. Okay? So in 2021, the Niners traded up for the 3rd overall pick. They had the 12th pick. Everyone kind of thought they were going up for Justin Fields. If you watch the draft over again and you listen to Mel Kiper and those guys sitting around the table, they thought they were trading up for Justin Fields. It didn't happen that way. They traded up 9 spots into the top of the draft where there's more value. They gave up 2 future first-round picks and a future second-round pick. That's a 1,000-point different disparity. To jump up from 12 to 3 is about a first-round pick difference. Then, to make it worth it, they give up another first-round pick. So a 1,000-point difference. This is the value you're going to see this year for the Bears. Okay? That 1,000-point swing is when you're seeing the big trades and the big draft years. There's value in this year's draft. You should see the Bears get an extra 1,000 points in value if they trade. That's why so many Bears fans are wanting the trade to happen. Right, in the same draft, the Dolphins then, after going down 9 spots, traded up another 6 spots with the Eagles. So the Eagles traded back to 12, gave up their 6th, gave up a 5th round as well, but got back a 4th and a future first. So 600 points. All right, and then we get into the Bears trades. In the same draft there, Justin Fields was sitting at 11 when nobody thought he would be. This is good value. The Bears gave up 700 points for a franchise quarterback. This is good value. They gave up 4 players for 1, but at that time, the Bears were looking to have their franchise quarterback. It's different than where we're at now. And at the time, it made sense for the Giants. They're not all going to work out certain ways. You don't know what players you're going to get out of there. They got Kadarius Toney. They needed a wide receiver. They needed a future offensive lineman. They got Evan Neal, who hasn't worked out for him. Ended up being a 7th overall pick, so they got more value than what this is showing. Just like the Bears got more value out of the Panthers trade. Okay, so then we move on to the Bears-Panthers trade. Last year, 1,000 difference, but DJ Moore was undervalued by the Panthers, and that first-round pick ended up being a first overall pick again. So this ends up being about a 6,000 value instead of 3,000. Okay, so this is a fleecing. But you don't know how that's going to work out, but that's what the Bears needed. Got a new GM, got a new coach, had to rebuild, had to tear apart the roster from what Ryan Pace had done, horrible situation that the Bears were in, and here we are. We're going to get 5 players for the price of Bryce Young. That's the way you look at it. So let's go on. Actually, there's one more trade that happened last year. Let's look at that one first. The Cardinals traded the third overall pick, which ended up being Will Anderson, to the Texans to jump up. The Texans gave up the 12th. Basically the end of a first round again, but it was the very first pick in the second round, a future first and a future third for the 3rd overall and a 4th round pick. 100-point difference there. Worth it. It all just depends on the team situation and where they're at in their rebuild. So let's look at the Bears now and what it would take this year. So I've talked to people on different threads and I've had this discussion, and you hear people with a common one because they see their PFN, their PFN Network Trade Simulator say we can get a first, second, and third rounder this year and a first rounder next year and a second rounder next year from Washington for trading down one spot. It's not realistic. You have to look at the trade values of these trades. So what's reality is the Bears would end up getting one spot later, their own pick back in the second round, as well as a future first rounder. Otherwise, if you wanted your own, or if you wanted the Commanders' higher pick, number 33 overall, or 34 overall, it would take something like the Colts trade. Let's go back to that one. That would be more like this trade with the Colts. So they got a pick swap, and the value from 3 to 6 is very similar as the value from 1 to 2. Future second, and a future second. That would be more like the value of what you'd be getting if you wanted the higher second round pick. Okay? You'd have to get different second round picks instead of future first. All right, with the Patriots, which I don't see happen because the Patriots never trade up, but they have a new GM and a new coach now, so maybe they're looking to get the quarterback that they really want. Maybe they want Drake May, and they're afraid he'll be gone at 3. So they'll trade up, give a first, second, and third this year, and a future first. And that would be the value of what you're going to get for that pick. Okay. Other ones you can consider the Giants. I don't think the Giants are drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'm not like everyone else. So I left them out of this. The reality is Daniel Jones' numbers weren't that bad, and they just signed into a long contract. He just got injured. He's going to be back from his injury, and I don't think they're going to spend that. They have the same needs the Bears do. They have a really bad issue with their receiver. They don't have the weapons they need. So I think they're going to go wide receiver as well. I see them getting Malik Neighbors. Anyways, that's the speculation, hypothetical. But what if the Bears got from them instead of first, second, third, and 2 future firsts, which lines up with the value of it, with the Falcons. Sorry, moved on to the Falcons. So the Falcons are a more aggressive team. They're sitting at 8. That's something that could happen. So if that happened, this is why Bears fans want this trade down, and I think you can understand it when I put it on paper for you. Let's look at last year's pick and this year's combined to show what the Bears could get. And this is hypothetical, okay? So all for giving up the first rounder last year, the Bears already got DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson. I also didn't put in here a future second, which we're going to get in 2025. So I didn't put that in there on accident. Sorry about that. But let's say we trade with the Falcons, and this Kyle Pitts idea that I'm going to have in another video makes sense, and you're going to see why. He's more of a glorified wide receiver. He doesn't have the blocking as a tight end, but they got Jonnu Smith, who has had a great year for them, and Kyle Pitts is coming up on the end of his contract. He's coming up on his 5th-year option. Let's say we get Joe Alt, a staple of a tackle, to go on the left side. We trade down, and we got Xavier Legette and Christian Haynes, who's one of the best guards in this draft. So we got them as well as 2 future firsts as well. Who knows what's going to happen with the first next year, but let's just say we take picks for them. Those are quality picks in the first round of next year and 2026 to go with our own first-round picks. That's the gift that keeps on giving. This is why Bears fans want to be able to see that trade down, because it's not just about one guy. Justin Fields is not that different from C.J. Stroud. I'm going to be crucified for saying that on here. People aren't going to agree with me. But it's the reality of the situation. If you look at their metrics, C.J. Stroud has a worse pass rate, not completion percentage. We're talking about different things. Poor pass rate. Okay? Justin Fields creates things that other quarterbacks don't create, but he has one of the worst hurry rates in the NFL. He's hurried more than almost anybody else. So if we build up around him, if we get this line solidified, which is one of the worst lines in the league, we give him time and we give him weapons, you're going to see the offense matching what the defense does. There's a lot of opinions on this. We've already started a civil war with Bears fans. It's not going to end until this whole thing gets settled and we get into the draft. But this is where we are in a rebuild, and we really need those pieces to put together. We're not 1 or 2 pieces away, guys. We're not just a couple pieces like some of us, me including, thought Nate Davis would do better this year, thought other players might be able to step up, thought Darnell Mooney would not be as having a struggle a year as he did. I thought we were closer than we were. I thought Lucas Patrick would put up middle numbers. I thought he would be a serviceable center. My bad. I was wrong. The reality is we're pieces away. But this draft is getting us very close, and I see us being competitive this year if we trade down. So let me know what you think. I really, really appreciate all of you guys tuning in and checking this out. I appreciate the following we've gotten in a short amount of time. I just started this thing, and away we're going, and I really hope to put out some good content with analytics, discussing things that other people don't want to talk about, and discussing some deeper metrics on them that make you think about things and make you wonder, is this really the situation we have at hand? So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and bear down.